Well, hello, welcome to my channel, Your Choice 466. I am your host, the last poet left. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Well, hello. This is the last poet left, your host. So here we are at the Alchemist community / article / Loosh explains. Let's see what's going on. Do you know what the Loosh is? What is a Loosh? It says energy is a literal fuel, but are you aware of how your energy is being consumed? As a person becomes more aware during a spiritual awakening, it is natural to notice the power of one's attention, the direction of mental and physical energy we observe has significant impacts on reality. The same is true of emotional energy. That emotional energy is called Loosh. Loosh, a term coined by Robert Monroe. Let's see what this guy is. That's what we got going on. Go ahead and it says right here. If we can actually yeah, this guy right here. Look at that. March 17th, 1995. Of course. Of course. Yes, this is my first recording of a video on YouTubers, so bear with me. Let's go ahead and back out. So let's get out of there. Okay. Okay. Loosh, a term coined by Robert Monroe, is an emotional life force that is used to create. This life force energy can be utilized to create realities through. Let me get a little bigger. Bam. Trying to get the thing wide. There we go. The direction of mental and physical energy. Okay, sure, I read that. Loosh, a term coined by Robert Monroe, is an emotional life force that is used to create. This life force energy can be utilized to create realities through it to consciously benefit the individual creating this loose energy or to be harvested by others beings feeding off of it. Emotional vampires, eh? Another way to see Loosh is that it is a manifestation mana. It is the nourishing substance that creates realities. Loosh is a food for the cosmos, and we as humans are the conscious or unconscious chefs in the kitchen. From this food, realities can be created out of fear or love. Adrenochrome, huh? Many people are aware of Loosh only know Many people aware of Loosh only know it in its fearful form, where beings prey upon the manifestation of fear, creation derived from greed, cruelty, scarcity, victimization, and more. In our unconscious state, this is exactly what happens. In our unconscious state, we give away our creative life force. You may have experienced this, feeling emotionally exhausted after a conversation with a person in a fearful mind state. You may notice that person feels better after the conversation because they use your Loosh, your life force energy, to bring themselves into another state. On a cosmic level, this happens when beings provoke and then harvest Loosh from our fearful states. Additionally, these beings desire specific fearful emotions like a favorite dish on the menu. They provoke and inflame the desired emotions so they can feed off of them. These aliens have a stake in the game. They need our fearful energy. This explains why humanity finds themselves constantly forced with the senseless acts of cruelty and chaos. Our emotions are being played with to create from fear, which feeds alien beings who crave greed, cruelty, scarcity, and more. War and chaos are nudged along to generate fear-changed Loosh. This is the imbalanced, unconscious form of Loosh. As humanity is waking up to higher states of consciousness, we get a choice. Our purpose in this life is to find the balanced, symbiotic harmony of utilizing and sharing life force energy consciously. In its highest form of manifestation, mana, Loosh is love. It is the pure life force energy that we access when we are connected to source energy. When we access this pure life force energy consciously, we step into our role as creator beings. The anatomy of Loosh. Emotion is energy Emotion is energy in motion, and Loosh is that energy in motion. The first and original form of Loosh exists outside of our dimension and outside of our Earth realm. Monroe called it prime energy because it is the original source of energy that all other forms of energy come from, and all other forms of emotion come from. When Loosh is in its prime energy form, it is pure life force. It is pure creative essence that we call love. So before Loosh is fed off or on it, or before Loosh is fed off, of or turns into a negative emotion, it is simply the primary energy of love. Loosh is an emotional sustenance. No different than how we need physical food to nourish our physical body, Loosh is energetic food to nourish ourselves, to nourish each other, and to nourish other beings. The food chain does not end with us. It goes on, but we cannot see that food what that food is because after us it is non-physical, it becomes spiritual, it becomes energetic, and that is Loosh. It is fuel that nourishes, and it is fuel that is sustenance. This is the deeper secret in all of esoterica. What's esoterica? It's a word. Not esoteric. Esoterica.
Esoterica.
Hmm. That emotions are sustenance. Everything is done for the purpose of Loosh. When you don't know why something is senseless and cruel, and what senseless and cruel is happening, or you think it is all just greed, the deeper meaning behind it is Loosh. Because Loosh is sustenance. It can either be positive sustenance or it can be negative sustenance, but it is no different than a battery. It gives energy to this universe. The cube. The all spark. Our job in this lifetime is to learn how to properly nourish ourselves, how to correctly give and receive this emotional substance in a conscious way. This is how higher density beings who are beneficial exist. They are nourished through symbiotic reciprocity and energy exchange done through equal give with love and intention. We are meant to learn how to do this as well at our dimension of reality, but the current state of energy exchange is not symbiotic. It is done through an emotional supply chain that you can think of like a hyperdimensional narcissist. Escape velocity. In his work, Monroe documented this form of Loosh as escape velocity. Escape velocity is the fuel, loving energy that propels a being out of the thick and heavy density of the karmic wheel of samsara. The hell is samsara? In Hinduism, samsara is a journey of the Atman. The body dies, but not the Atman, which is eternal reality, indestructible, and bliss. Everything and all existence is connected, cyclical, and composed of two things: the self, or Atman. Atman. Samsara is the endless process of creating and moving into worlds and of being reborn. Psychologically and physically, it is the opposite of nirvana, the state of freedom from delusion and suffering. Learn how to escape samsara with Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Huh. To end the reincarnation cycle which keeps us in the spiritual amnesia, one must use Loosh in its highest form to escape. Again, we exist as creator beings, creating from our very core our Loosh. That Loosh is food, from love to fear. It can fuel us into higher states of being, or fuel aliens in their own creative endeavors. Now we're on to aliens? This pure life force energy of love can be downgraded and manipulated into other states. This is when it becomes fuel for other beings to consume. How Loosh gets converted. Now, when Loosh gets converted into a negative form that is fed off of, I want you to imagine this process like you are grilling a vegetable. You see how you are preparing it in a way so that it is going to taste of a specific way? That is the same as what I'm saying when our Loosh is being converted into a negative form to be fed off. Our prime energy or life force is prepared in a certain way. We call that cooked a certain way or converted in a certain way. So how does our Loosh get fed off? Well, first of all, it gets converted by us. We do it. We do it on accident. Anytime we have a strong intention that is attached to a negative emotion, that is the equation for Loosh to be fed off. It has to be our original prime energy, so it has to be our consent basically, which is what I'm calling a strong desire or a strong intent. That is then infused with a negative emotion. If it is only a strong desire or a strong intention that is not negative, desire and intention are not negative. They come from our higher self. What if my higher self wants to kill people? I don't know. Or unalive, as they say. It is when that the strong desire is attached to a negative emotion, or a great example would be revenge. The strong intention is infused with wrath. Now it is absolutely normal to experience negative emotion. Please do not suppress your emotions, but what makes it louche is if we are not aware of this whole process of conversion, and so we emit all of this emotional sustenance out into the aether. What's the difference between the aether and the ether? Does anybody know? See. According to ancient and medieval science, aether, also known as the fifth element or quintessence, is the material that fills aether, classical element. According to ancient and medieval science, aether, also known as the fifth element or quintessence, is the material that fills the region of the universe beyond the terrestrial sphere. The concept of aether was used in several theories. Aether was known as the fifth element. Let's get a look going back right here. Aether, searching for the fifth element of the ancients. What is aether? Well, that is simple. Aether, also spelled as ether, aether is a material that fills the region of the universe of the terrestrial sphere, or at least it was according to ancient science. Aether was also known as the fifth element or quintessence, and the concept of aether was used in multiple theories scientists postulated to explain natural phenomena such as gravity and light. The origins of aether can be traced back to ancient Greece. According to Greek mythology, aether was thought to be the pure essence that the gods breathed, which filled the space in the heavens where they lived. It was a heavenly form of air that was only created in the heavens. Mortals breathe oxygen and gods breathe aether. The mythological personification of aether is the son of Erebus, the personification of darkness, and Nyx, the personification of night. The fifth element. Plato described aether as being the most translucent kind of air, which is called by the name of aether in his works Themis. While Plato does refer to the concept of aether when describing air, he was a firm believer in this classical system of four elements. The classical system of four elements is something everyone is familiar with. It is the belief that the four elements that everything is composed of are earth, fire, air, and water. This would seemingly leave no space for aether, but this is the only beginning of the complications. The next philosopher who wrote about aether or the fifth element was Aristotle, a student of Plato's. In Aristotle's book on the heavens, he explains how the four classical elements were known to change. Aether, or as Aristotle called it, the first element, was found in the heavens and celestial realm, was unlike the four elements. Aether was not dry or wet, and it was not hot or cold. Aether was unable to have motion or qualify or motion of quantity, but it was able to move in a circular pattern. In his book, Aristotle described the heaven's celestial spheres were made of aether and contained the stars and planets. This belief that these aether spheres moved in a circular motion is what led Aristotle to explain why the natural orbit of stars and planets is in a circular form. This is where the whole fifth element thing really started. It is worth noting, however, that Aristotle never called this fifth element aether. Huh. With no awareness that it needs to be embraced. It needs to be seen and accepted and given. Our unconditional love, anything you don't become aware of and radically embrace, is held outside of the level of your light and therefore can be louche. The second way we emit louche is not by our own innocent lack of awareness. The second way is being intentionally manipulated to prepare our energy into a negative state so that our louche can be funneled into creating chaos, trauma, and distress. Like mass hypnosis causing perceptions to change. This is also demonstrated in the occult phrase, order out of chaos. The second way louche is harvested is when the power that word choose to manipulate life force energy into negative states for an outcome of intentionally manifesting these fearful realities. These kinds of manipulations have perpetuated over time, bringing us into lower vibration timelines, shutting us out from the light as we become more resonant with fear and subject to control, rather than rising into our higher state of loving creator beings. Other beings prey upon these emotions, having a hankering for the flavor of sorrow or the texture of rage. They provoke our emotions into a heightened, fearful state. They manipulate our emotions so we will manifest scenarios that become the simmering pot of negative emotional cosmic soup that they can dip their spoon into any time. We are living, breathing louche, and these aliens are putting in their cosmic order for exactly the kind of emotional dish that they want us to create. Yes, we are the creators here being nudged to create the dish for being sitting on in our proverbial cafe. Order up for fear from our from our hyper vigilant fearful state. We create new negatively charged timelines and realities. The cycle perpetuates to create even more of these negative emotions for aliens to feed off. Humans can also enact these manipulative states upon others because we can, in fact, be satiated by another person's negative emotion. Our own wounding can unknowingly create a taste for certain negative emotion. This can manifest within anyone. They don't need to be an outright narcissist in order to crave another person's loosh. However, if a person leans stronger on the narcissistic end of the spectrum, they will use other loosh as their energetic supply rather than seek genuine connection. This is what makes a person start polarizing towards a service to self pathway. It is when they keep people in their life around for supply rather than connection. We become the orchestrator, intentionally drawing out the flavors from others by rousing their negative emotions to make us feel important, wanted, or powerful. When this dynamic is carried out through our connections with others, we end up in a karmic cycles of hurt, comfort, scenarios where we become addicted to emotional reactions arousing conflict to feed off of the high emotional charges. Thus, the term energy vampirism. See, that's what I said in the beginning. When we cultivate pure source energy, tapping into love, positivity, and creation rather than feeding into cosmic parasites, we nourish ourselves with the greatest form of cosmic nourishment. We create from this place of our divine essence as creator beings, and we stop the cycle of harvesting. This is where escape velocity works its magic. Does this mean that we reject our own human emotion to escape vampiristic manipulation? No. We are here to experience the full spectrum of emotions, and we are here to experience them consciously instead of becoming consumed and shamed through rage or despair. We consciously examine these emotions and bring them into light where they can be embraced and receive unconditional love and compassion. As we do so, we will find ourselves elevated into higher vibrational states of reality. When we move into these higher states using Loosh in its highest form, our reality shifts into a place where we are no longer being drawn into these negative charged desires and intentions. In fact, these negative energies will no longer resonate with us. The people you find yourself around will change, or the way people interact with you will evolve. This is the subtle start of shifting into a mutually beneficial exchange of energies with other loving beings. We are meant to both give and receive life force energy in its highest form of unconditional love and compassion. When we consciously elevate ourselves out of vibrational emotions, we remove ourselves from the food supply chain to a hyperdimensional narcissist, which you may realize you are playing out on a human scale in this reality as you face literal human narcissists or shed your own narcissistic patterns. Ultimately, overcoming what we see in our human reality is exactly what we are mirroring on on a cosmic scale. This is no small thing, for each shift in our current reality has an effect on the whole of the cosmos. That's the most narcissistic thing I've ever heard, Human beings thinking they're the center of everything. Maybe we are, I don't know. This is where healing comes in. As we heal our karmic wounds from this life and many other incarnations, we seal the leakage of Loosh and shift our timelines. I just like saying Loosh. Shift our timelines, both present and past and future, closer to the frequency of love. Loosh, in its highest form, generational trauma and karmic manipulations of our soul's journey, are brought into the light and sealed over thought healing, and we escape the wheel of samsara. Loosh is nourishment, creative life force nourishment, manifestation mana. You can nourish yourself through connection to pure source energy, or you can nourish beings whose only objective is to consume at your emotional, energetic loss. When we fuel our strong desire and intention with higher vibrations from pure source energy, connecting with our higher selves, we are no longer food to be harvested, but entering into an exchange of reciprocity of equal give and take with loving intention. This is the deepest secret in all of esoterica, that emotions are sustenance. Lucia is no different from physical food, and we need it to nourish ourselves, nourish each other, and nourish the universe. When done with conscious, loving intention, we elevate ourselves and our reality thanks to the manifestation of mana, of Loosh. Huh. The Ascension Glossary, Loosh, a term applied to energy produced by human beings and animals that other entities use to feed from. It is also used to refer to the energy that is produced by suffering that entities feed. From books by Robert Monroe may be a play on the French word louche. Negative emotional energy collections. Reversal networks are collecting life force from the collective fields of all the Earth inhabitants and producing more subtle black forces and miasma. Miasma.
Miasma.
A highly unpleasant or unhealthy smell or vapor. Producing more subtle black forces and miasma, the much sought after spiritual energy contained in these fields is called energetic loosh, or loosh, by the Kabbals. In this context, loosh is referred to as the emotional energy radiated by animals and humans harmed or being killed that results in this traumatizing pain and suffering that is experienced and recorded by the body, mind, and soul. This trauma and pain gets recorded in the earth body itself. For centuries, the NAA have developed and exploited multidimensional occult practices through reversal creation code. This has been given to secret societies and institutions for the purpose of mind control and social engineering in order to harvest negative emotional energy or loosh from the masses, a technocracy. With the current acceleration of the electronic era, which promotes transhumanism and an array of artificial intelligence technologies, both overtly and covertly, this exploitation to extract negative emotional energy from humanity is at an all-time high. Our planet is being deluged with negative mind control, programming, and AI broadcasts that target the negative ego filters that have infiltrated every fiber of society. This is in order to elicit extremely negative emotions and painful trauma from the constant bombardment of harmful images, behaviors, and actions. These programs encourage cruelty, brutality, and violence, which are being massively superimposed upon humanity and the earthly kingdoms at this time. Think of our games, our daily entertainment, how desensitized we are. Extremely charged negative emotional energy, such as that achieved during satanical ritual abuse, contains hormonal adrenaline cascades that course through the cellular energy within the human body, blood, and brain. Under such intense extremes of painful suffering, the blood and flesh become charged with heightened molecular content, which is highly prized by negative aliens and satanic forces. This is why they delight in the torture, suicide, and killings of human beings, especially the innocent souls unable to protect themselves, like children. Etymology. Robert Monroe, in his book Far Journeys, writes of contact he had with a light being in and out of body experience. Monroe is arguably the world's foremost researcher on OBEs, also known as out of body experiences. He started an institute with trainee research to scientifically investigate the phenomenon. Reportedly, the light being told Monroe that when humans die, their energy is released and harvested by transdimensional beings who use it to extend their own lifespans. They claim that the universe is a garden created by these beings as their food source. According to Monroe's story, animals are intentionally positioned on this planet to feed on plants and on each other, thereby releasing the life force of their victims so it can be harvested. In a predator-prey struggle, exceptional energy is produced in the combatants. The spilling of blood in a fight to the death conflict releases this intense energy, which the light beings call Loosh. Loosh is also harvested from the loneliness of animals and humans, as well as from the emotional engendered when a parent is forced to defend the life of its young. Another source of Loosh is human worship. According to Monroe's informant, our creators, the cosmic energy farmers, intentionally equipped animals with devices like fangs, claws, and super speed in order to prolong predator-prey combat and thereby produce more Loosh. In other words, the greater the suffering, the more life force is spewed from our bodies, and the tastier the energy meal for our creators. This story told to Monroe, which threw him into a 2 week depression, corresponds to reports in some of the world's oldest scriptures, the Vedas, um, Upanishads, Puranas of India. There we read that the universe is upheld by sacrifice, and that all who are living in this world are the sacrificers. There is none living who does not perform yagya, the sacrifice. This body is created for sacrifice and arises out of sacrifice and changes. What is this? The Veda may be named states after the mythical priest named Atharvan, who was first to develop prayers to fire. I'll look in that a little bit. Black Sun Draconian agenda, ancient roots, manipulation, draconian reptoids on Earth, masterminds of Council of Nicaea, Church of Rome, Cathar Essence, Crusades, Human Holocaust, Zeta, Zephyrum backed treaties with military industrial complex, human abduction, Zeta and Draconian, created alliance for OWO. What the hell is OWO? Transhuman objective target Christios lines for extermination behind global health mafia, pharma, vax, chemtrails, and geoengineering for terraforming. For preferred race line parallel AI built on base 10 template, top of the chain in 10D Pluto matrix, war bloodlust, biological extermination, child, SRA, adrenochrome, severe digression into violent depravity, some defected to Bilal, sun, dragon, moth, Draco, Anunnaki, Necrometon, Zeta, Dragon, TZ, Tall Whites, Nordic, Marduk, Omicron. Huh? Adrenochrome. What? What is this? The whole entire time I thought this was fucking Wikipedia. It's called the Ascension Glossary. Adrenochrome. The hell? Is a chemical compound with molecular formula C9H9NO3. The freak is that? Adrenochrome. What? The oxidation reaction that converts adrenaline into adrenochrome occurs both in vivo and in vitro. Having the chemical formula C9H9NO3 dash or period whatever, its name is a combination of the words adrenaline referring to its source and chrome referring to its having a color violet. What? Adrenochrome in its unstable form is of little practical use. However, its stabilization via binding to monosemicarbazone results in carbazochrome, adrenochrome, monosemicarbazone, which promotes blood clotting. Carbazochrome is sometimes used to treat hemorrhage, although it is effective remains inconclusive. In 1856, French physician Alfred Vopian noted that epinephrine extracted from mammalian suprarenal glands what? Huh. Eventually turned a reddish color when exposed to the air. The mechanism behind this phenomenon was deduced in 1937 by American biochemist David Ezra Green and English neuroscientist Derek Richter, who isolated the substance that resulted from oxidation into its pure crystalline form. They named the substance adrenochrome. Produced by the oxidation of adrenaline, epinephrine, the derivative carbazochrome is a homeostatic medication. Despite a similarity in chemical names, it is unrelated to chrome or chromium. Adrenochrome is an oxidation product of adrenaline, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. The effects and classification of this drug is said to be controversial because it is debated whether it has any psychoactive or hallucinogenic effects. Although some test subjects compared the adrenochrome experience to mild psilocybin and LSD experience, psychoactive effects of adrenochrome may include euphoria, confusion, a change in train of thought, lack of judgment, poor insight, and inability to concentrate. Author Hunter S. Thompson mentions adrenochrome in his book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in the book, and the drug comes from a living donor's adrenal gland, and therefore it is deemed exotic and intense. In the DVD commentary, director Terry Gilliam admits that his and Thompson portrayal is fictional. What? The NAA? The NAA, or Negative Aliens Archon Group, timelines, memories surfacing into the mass planetary consciousness filled with species memory returns, dimensional field collapse, core Atlantean seed conflict, misuse of technology, personal will versus divine source plan, Atlantis food began alien invasion 9600 BC. Stonehenge 11D gate takeover unplugged our DNA 5500 years ago. Scrambled cellular alphabet. 5D wormhole invasion began 5000 years ago in Saqqara, Egypt. The Jorsa lineage. Events changed humanity's probable reality into another event horizon for 2012. Current primary objective is 3D mind control, terrorism, cataclysm, through seed invasion, fear to replay the Atlantean program. Humanity power elite used to control planetary resources for negative alien agendas, stealing life force through the satanical ritual abuse. Oh.
Part 2, coming soon.